I want to talk a little bit today about marketing, because who in here is just an indie developer? You just do RubyMotion on the side? Okay, so quite a few people in here. And then who works for a company that does RubyMotion stuff? Okay, so a lot of you guys might have a dedicated marketing team, and these are going to be things that you can bring back to maybe help your marketing team or the people that do all this stuff kind of better understand the iOS marketing, and now I guess just App Store app marketing things. But for all you indie developers out there, this is going to kind of, we're not very good as developers. We're good as developers at creating applications, but sometimes we're not so great at actually marketing those applications and following through. It's like in baseball, when you swing the bat, they always tell you follow through with the bat. And so that's kind of the stuff we've got to do as app developers when we're marketing our apps. So a little bit about me. You can see my GitHub. I'm Mark Rickert on GitHub. My website is markrickert.me, and on Twitter you can find me at @MarkRickert. I'm the internal automation hacker at Skookum Digital Works in Charlotte, North Carolina. And what that essentially means is I get to automate all the parts of our business that we don't want to do on a regular basis. So I work a lot with our accounting team, finance team, to make sure that things are just running smoothly. But you guys might know me from this community better as Mohawk Apps. I don't have the Mohawk anymore, but I kept the company name. So one of the things I love to do is skydive, and Laurent and I started talking about this online, and that's Laurent's reaction to my hobby. But yeah, I'm actually taking the red eye home on tomorrow night so that I can go to a big skydiving event at my home drop zone. So I have quite a few RubyMotion apps in the App Store. These are all of my apps. I keep them all on one screen. Kind of they all live together. And I love RubyMotion. So basically 80% of my apps are RubyMotion. I do have one Mac app that is written in RubyMotion. And now, actually, on the plane ride, I rewrote one of my old Objective-C apps in RubyMotion. So now I just have two apps that are still Objective-C. And also, all of my apps are open source. So you can go and you can look. Thanks. It's just my way of giving back to the community. RubyMotion is such an awesome tool chain and so many awesome wrappers and DSLs that I just figure that other people can maybe learn from my OK code. So yeah, my apps are open source, and so you can just go and you can build them on your own, or you can go buy them in the App Store. I prefer you buy them in the App Store. But go build them on your own and kind of see how they work and see how I do things. And if you have suggestions for me, I'm always open to taking suggestions on how to do things better. Or if you find a bug, send me a bug report. So we're talking about marketing, and for the App Store, what really matters with marketing is your rankings. And so I've got some of my top rankings here. My biggest seller overall is Checkout Helper. It's a point-of-sale application, and it actually got to the #2 spot in Canada for paid business applications, and the #17 spot in the US for paid business applications. And so I've gotten pretty successful with some of my iPhone apps, and it pays for skydiving. So, but really what we're going for is rankings. And we've all seen Amir's rankings for a dark room, and he's probably rolling in cash right now. But it's really great to see that RubyMotion apps are actually having this much success. But where do we actually start with app marketing? A lot of people will think, OK, I'm going to build this app, and then I'm going to make it a Twitter handle for it, and then once it's released, I'm going to tweet that it's released, and that's going to be my marketing. But really, your marketing actually needs to start, you need to start thinking about your marketing for your app before you even start writing the app. Because you need to be forming these thoughts inside your head about what are the strategies I'm going to use to actually get the word out about the app, and what am I going to do when the app is released? Am I going to ask for a bunch of review sites to review the app before it's released? So I've got to figure out how I'm going to distribute it to them, and all these sorts of things that you need to think about before you actually start writing your app. And so I'm going to talk today a little bit about what things you can do and and how you can actually go about that. So we're all familiar with the app development lifecycle. We start with defining our requirements, we get a design, and we start development. Sometimes those two happen kind of at the same time. We debug, and then we deploy. And so as software engineers, we're used to this whole lifecycle. But I want to redefine this and actually put a few more things into this lifecycle for the app development and marketing lifecycle. So at the beginning, we're going to tack on research and prototype. And then at the end, we're going to tack on market. And you notice I changed the define to validate. So we've got research, prototype, validate, design, develop, debug, deploy, market. And so these are the kind of the steps that I'm going to be talking about today. As software engineers, this is the likelihood that we're going to do any of those steps. And really, I really loved Jamin's talk earlier about prototyping. And so everybody should be making small prototypes of their apps before they even go. And ProMotion is great for doing that. It just makes things so much easier. So the first thing you have to do is you have to start with a great idea. If you don't have a great idea, you've got really nothing to build on. And so this is where we start with our research. Before you might think you've got this great idea, and then you go and you start building things right away. And then you find out that maybe it's not such a great idea. So when you're doing research to actually find out if the app is a good idea or not, you need to look into competitors. Find out who else might be doing the same sort of thing. And you can do that you can just do that with a simple Google search, with an App Store search. Talk to other people about your idea, and maybe they'll say, oh, I heard about this app that's doing this other thing over here that's really similar. Or I heard that so-and-so is starting to develop an app that's very similar. And then you maybe think, well, I better get mine out first. And if you do find competitors in the space that you're trying to do, I actually had a friend on Twitter ask me, he was like, I want to write this app that's very similar to something else. And I said, okay, immediately go download the app, find out what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, and emulate the right things and make the things they're doing wrong better in your app so that you can actually set your app apart from this other kind of competitor. And then also, you need to think about how likely it is for a new competitor to emerge. Because, I mean, we know there's a lot of stuff going on in the photo sharing space. He said it was like a winner-take-all, all-or-nothing sort of thing. And there's new photo sharing apps coming out all the time. And so, and then just like the music apps that we were talking about earlier too, that's a very crowded space. And so you need to figure out how likely it is for new people to come out on the market with similar ideas and similar functionality. So you also need to look at the marketplace need. You need to figure out how likely it is that you're actually going to sell the app. Because if there's no need for the app, people aren't going to buy it, and you're not going to make any money. And I think the ultimate goal for getting apps in the App Store is revenue. Revenue for your company, revenue for yourself, your indie developer, unless you just like to work for free, which I don't like doing. So you need to ask friends about your idea. I mentioned that earlier, but you need to not take them very seriously. You can get a general gauge from your friends about what they like and don't like about the idea, but in general, your friends and your family, they're going to kind of be very sympathetic to you, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, and then they're not going to really tell you what they think. But it's really great to start talking to people that you're close with about your app idea so that you can kind of gauge, like, somebody might just say, well, that's stupid, I've never used that app. And then you go ask a couple other people, and if you start to get the same sentiment, then maybe it's not a great idea. And the next thing you want to do is you want to ask complete strangers. Because I don't know about you guys, but when a complete stranger asks me a question, I'm usually pretty honest with them. You just walk up to somebody and start up a conversation at a bar or even just on the street, and you tell them your idea, and you say, what do you think? Would you use this? And then the real big question is, would you pay for this? Because a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I'd use that app, and maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But when you ask them if they would pay for it, you're really going to figure out if the idea is good enough for mass use and profit. So the next step after researching, we have prototyping. So you want to use tools to generate a clickable mock-up of the app There's an app where you can design an app on the phone and then save out screenshots of it or print it out to an AirPrint printer. You can use RubyMotion to create an MVP, just the core functionality of your application. And if you do that, you just need to completely, you don't worry about bugs, you don't worry about making it pretty, you don't worry about creating any of the kind of the secondary things like loading screens, icons. You just focus on getting the core functionality of your application out there so that you can show it to somebody and hand it to them. If it crashes, you say, oh, sorry about that, and you hit the icon again, and you have them use your application in your MVP. You do want to worry about getting the main point of the app's functionality across to the user. You need to give it to somebody who's never seen it before and see how they interact with that application so that you know maybe some things that you can improve in the user interface or like maybe they're confused about a feature and what it does or why it's there. So that's going to be a really great way to get some feedback about your application. Excuse me. The next step in the software development and marketing lifecycle that I have here is validate. I've got a bunch of do's and don'ts. So we had talked about asking strangers to use your app. Conduct focus groups. So if there's a money in the budget, you're working for a company, just have them get 10 people in a room. Have them use the app and see what they like about it, see what they don't like about it. Take user feedback seriously. You want to take it seriously, but you don't want to listen to every single idea that your focus group or testers have, because a lot of it is going to be pretty stupid. It's going to be not aligned with the main vision of your app, what you're going for. But you need to listen. Like even if they don't have like solid, concrete ideas, maybe you can just get a little nugget of information from these users and the focus groups that you could use to extrapolate and actually make a useful feature in your application. So don't ask friends for their opinion. Don't ask family for their opinion. Just use it as a general sentiment. Like I said, they're gonna try and tell you what you want to hear. Don't dismiss user struggles. You want to make sure that you're talking to people who might not necessarily be tech savvy, because if they can't figure out what a button does, or they don't know that this one thing that you have in the application actually is a button, then you might need to rethink your user interface. And don't take all user suggestions and implement them. And also, don't submit this prototype version to the App Store. You want to make sure that this is just something that you're using to kind of refine your idea and make it a complete application and a whole. So after you've done all this user research and prototyping, you go do your thing. 40 features and 400 tests later, you've got your app. And you notice there's no icon there. Man, I'm sorry, my throat's dying up here. So now let's talk about thinking more about marketing. We have to have a game plan, and I break the game plan into both tactical and practical. You need to execute the game plan, and you need to know when to change the game plan. And it's very okay to actually change your game plan. It's not one of those things where you shouldn't switch horses in midstream. You need to figure out what's working and what's not working, and if it's not working, then you need to be okay with changing the game plan. So let's talk about some tactical things we can do. Are you going to have a marketing page on your company's website? That's a very practical thing there, or tactical thing there. Are you going to have an app-specific landing page or URL? I don't do that for all my apps, but for my HackerBar Mac application, I have hackarbarapp.com. Are you going to actually use a marketing site like that? Social media, are you going to tweet as the app? Do you need a Facebook group? Are you going to be using app.net? So that's something about knowing your target market. So if your target market is software developers or people that are very, very likely to have an app.net account, you probably need to think about having an account for the application. And how are you going to handle customer support? Are you just going to have an email me link in the application? Are you going to use Zendesk or some other similar application? And how are you going to integrate that into your app? App review sites. Are you going to submit your app to different review sites? Are you going to pay for app reviews? That's another kind of market that's out there right now where you can pay somebody $50 and then give them a promo code for your app or send them a pre-release version and they'll write a review for you. And there are other kind of independent sites like appadvice.com that will do that for you for free. And they're typically a little less biased when you don't pay them. Are you going to distribute promo codes? How are you going to do that? There's a great application called Tokens that really helps you manage that sort of thing. And you can like name the different app tokens that promo codes that you've given to people, and it tells you when they've been redeemed. So you need to figure out, are you going to use all 100 of your promo codes for each version? Who are you going to send them to? Are you going to send them to press? Are you going to post them on Reddit or send them out on Twitter? And that goes along with getting the word out. How are you going to actually promote your application? Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, word of mouth, magazine advertisements, billboards, skywriting. I use some guerrilla marketing tactics where I actually go to conferences and conventions where people are going to be that will likely use my app. And now some practical game plans. For app development, that's why I asked the question about crash reporting. How are you going to collect statistics? Are you going to internationalize your app? Are you going to localize your app more specifically? Are you going to make it accessible on purpose? And then things in iTunes Connect. We've got icons, keywords, descriptions, screenshots, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. You need to figure out your pricing model. Are you going to use in-app purchases? Is it going to be a paid application? Thank you. And then affiliate links. We're going to talk a little bit about affiliate links too. So a little bit about reporting. I use a service called Flurry Analytics. And Flurry gives me some great information about my apps. And I've been using it for a couple of years now, and so I just integrate it into all of my applications. It tells me like change in weekly growth, number of unique unique users, active users, number of sessions, and then something that I like to look at called retention. It looks like the Inspect application has 34% retention rate week over week. So I guess that's pretty good. It gives me number of sessions over time, which is great to know kind of like how many people are using your app on any given week. And then also device reporting. I know that for this one application, most of my users in the past month are on iPhone 4s and 5s. And so that can also help you figure out what devices you need to support in new versions of your app. So if you have an iPhone-only app, and you notice that like half your users are on iPads, well, maybe you need to revisit your application development strategy and maybe make an iPad-specific interface. So reporting is a really great tool, and there's all sorts of different reporting services you can use, and I like Flurry, and I've been using it for a long time. So make sure that you're integrating some sort of reporting into your application. Internationalization. So this is a graph from App Annie, and if you don't know what App Annie is, it's basically they track your income, your sales, as well as App Store rankings, and all sorts of really cool data that they get from the App Store and they scrape. So the blue line is my app's ranking in the United States, and the red line is my app's ranking in Brazil. Can you tell when I released the Portuguese localization? You can see that there's a trend line, and it's down right here about, what, 600 or so. And then as soon as I release the Portuguese localization, it goes way up. I think it got to like number like 12 in the Portuguese or in the Brazilian App Store, and then it goes down, and the trend line after it is a magnitude above the trend line before it. So releasing, and I actually had a guy from Brazil reach out to me, and he's like, I'd like to localize your app. And so I gave him all the resources to do that, and he did it for free, and I integrated it into my app and released it, and then you can see what happened to my sales. So internationalization is a really great way to reach more of your target market. Accessibility is another great way to reach more of a target market, and I'm just going to leave that right there, and I'm going to say, make sure you're here for Austin's talk tomorrow afternoon, because he did a talk last year, and it was awesome. It really got me thinking about whether or not I'm going to make my apps accessible and why I should, and now he's got a really awesome tool, Motion Accessibility Gem, to help you with that. So let's talk about doing things right in iTunes Connect. You can do things very wrong in iTunes Connect, and a lot of it has to do with your metadata that's associated with your application. So with your description, you want to get somebody that's removed from the core development team to actually write the description of your app. Get them to use the app, and then get them to describe actually what the app does and why it's useful to them. From there, you can just take that and massage it and kind of put your own spin on it, but use someone else who's not a developer to actually get the core of your application's description in there so that you know kind of the layperson what they're going to want to figure out about your application when they're looking at it. Keywords are another really important thing to think about when you're looking at your metadata in iTunes Connect. So I don't know if you guys know this or not. You might have seen my article in the Motion Dispatch about keywords, but you know you only get 255 characters in iTunes Connect for it. You shouldn't use any spaces unless it's in a keyword. And so you notice here I've got Noah, wins, and skydive, and there's no spaces. It's just Noah, comma, win, comma, skydive. And so a lot of times, if you just eliminate those spaces, you can gain another word that you can use as an app keyword. And you notice also capitalization doesn't matter, so you can just knock one of those out. Don't use plurals in your keywords. And try and think like a user. Think about what people are going to be searching for to find your app. So even if it's not actually like what your app does, but it's something very similar to it, or maybe a competitor's name, Apple doesn't really care. So you put whatever you want in those in the keywords. I've never had an app rejected for having a competitor's name in keywords or something that's not directly related to my application. But I know that my users are going to be searching for that, and then I want them to find my application. So design a great icon or have someone or pay someone to do it for you. So this is one of my newer applications. It's called Aloft. And I went and I talked to a designer friend of mine, and I said, can you help me make an icon? And we had a discussion about what the app was going to do, because the app didn't exist at that point. We talked about what it was going to do. It was going to be a weather application. It's going to show wind altitude data, speed, direction, and temperature. It should be, the icon needs to convey the fact that it's about wind. And I also wanted it to have the idea of height. And so I worked with a designer friend, and she came up with this icon. We tweaked it a little bit. And I love the icon. It's really great, and it conveys everything that I wanted to convey about my icon, or about my application. And what I did from there is I took that same, the concept from the icon, and I'm like, oh, I'll make the app look like the icon too. And so I implemented this algorithm that took my base color and lightened it. And you can see that there's some weirdness going on right about here with the colors, but it was all done programmatically. And I'm like, oh, this is an elegant way to solve it. And I showed it to her, and she was like, this does not look good. And so she then took it, and she gave me actual color values with what you see on the right-hand side there. And you can see it looks much better. It's much more consistent with the app icon. And you can see this is what it currently is in production, the top one. And I thought that my color, light, and percentage was great, but it turned out that it didn't look so great. So working with a designer on your app, especially if you're an indie developer, is going to be crucial to get the actual the application to be in a place where it's going to look great as well. Screenshots are a pretty big deal in the App Store. Looking at these two apps here, Scanner Pro and Genius Scan Plus, we're seeing one of them is £5 and the other is £2. But look at the difference in the screenshots. This one is like, it says, turn your iPhone into a portable scanner. And this one over here just says, well, it's Genius Scan. I'm not sure exactly what it does, but I can see the interface. And so I think that people would look at these two apps and they'd be much more likely to take a chance on the £5 one, because I just got these screenshots off a website, and so it's not the US App Store. And you can see they're the same exact keyword, Scanner Pro, and they both came up, but I think users might be willing to take a chance on the more expensive one because it says exactly what it's going to do on the very first screenshot that you see from the App Store. Because in iOS 7 now, the very first screenshot is in the search results. So making sure you have great screenshots in your application is crucial to the success of your app. And there's one of my apps, Textables, where I did kind of the same idea. I don't have a little thumb in there, but Textables is the fun new way to send unique text art to your friends. And so when you pull this up actually on the iPhone, that's what they're going to see underneath my app icon. So they get an idea of what the app looks like and what you're supposed to be doing with the app. So designing the screenshots is really a really great way. It's a pain in the ass to actually get these, like when you update things, you've got to go into Photoshop and then you've got to export all the layers, and it's a lot harder to maintain these sort of things in the long run. But I think it really adds a lot of benefit to getting downloads. So a little bit about pricing. I talked about pricing in one of my Motion Dispatch articles. Essentially, nobody really knows how much someone is willing to pay for an app until you find that people are paying it. So there's this thing, this graph is an idea called the price elasticity of demand. And what that means is that as your price goes up, your demand goes down. And so every single app is going to have a different curve on this graph, and you need to figure out where the sweet spot is between maximum revenue and maximum downloads. So you want to play with your app price. If you think it needs to be 99 cents, maybe set it to $1.99 and see how it does for a couple weeks. And if you're not getting the sort of downloads that you want from it, not making the amount of profit you want to get from it, then change it, go back to 99 cents, or maybe even go up to $2.99. One thing that Google does in their Play Store that I really like is they don't lock you into dollar increments. So you can play with that a lot more over time. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about is affiliate links. If you're an iPhone developer and you're not an iTunes affiliate, you really should sign up today. It's just an additional revenue stream that you can get from your apps. And so basically, on my website, I have all of my apps linking out to the App Store with my affiliate code on them. And so when I ask someone to actually download my app, or I post it to Twitter or something like that, I send a link to my website so that they can read about my app there, and when they click through, I get an additional percentage of the revenue from Apple. So I'm actually making more than 70% from Apple on my apps. And the great thing about the affiliate program is that once they click your app and they stay in iTunes or for the next 24 hours, whatever they buy, as long as they don't click another affiliate app, you're going to get the revenue from that affiliate links. And you can see that here I have Chili. I had 4 clicks and they bought 20 items. I have a 500% conversion rate last month for Chili because they bought things other than my apps. And so you can also set up campaigns, and you can see from one of my apps, I have a link out to another app, and you can see the amount of clicks I get, the amount of conversion rate, and so you can track the success of your marketing campaigns through Apple's affiliate program and actually make money off of that sort of stuff. And just like hackerbar.com, 22 clicks and $2.99 revenue. That means that 2 people bought it, or 1 person bought it, and I made 21 cents on that. So that's an additional revenue stream that comes in, and they give you some kind of confusing graphs. I think the green line is this month, and the gray line is the same time period in the last month. So becoming an iTunes affiliate and actually using the linking code to generate additional revenue is a great way to have that just one more revenue stream. And as indie developers, you know that every penny counts. So you need to be able to try new things. You need to listen to your customers. You want to make sure that you're iterating on your processes and make sure that you're releasing minor updates very frequently, because it was more of an issue in iOS 6 where you'd release an update and people would see it in the App Store. Now, because they do the automated stuff, it's not as important anymore. But releasing minor updates kind of puts a little blue checkbox or the little blue dot next to your app, and people will notice that, and it kind of keeps it top of mind for people to keep using your app. And then play the long game. Not every app is going to be an overnight success like the Darkroom was. But as indie developers, we're playing this long game. It's a long tail of revenue. And so if it's not successful right now, just keep at it, keep marketing it, and hopefully you'll be getting that #1 iTunes App Store app. So that's my talk about marketing, and I will take any questions right now if we've got a few minutes.